the origin of evil? Like, how did sin
Oh, yeah.
first propagate?
In a nutshell, it was Satan that introduced sin into the world. Because remember, the serpent tempted Adam and Eve. So human sin was passed on by Adam and Eve. But the original sinner was the serpent, Satan. He was the one who
Right.
committed the first sin. Because what is sin? In 1 John chapter 3, verse 4, 1 John chapter 3, verse 4, it says, sin is breaking the command of God. Sin is lawlessness, breaking his command. So the first sinner, the first one to disobey God and his order, is the serpent, meaning Satan. And you know where you find this taught explicitly? Here's the advantage of reading the Deuterocanonicals. If you go with just the Protestant canon, 39 Old Testament books, 27 New Testament books, the first reference to the serpent being Satan is in Revelation 12, verse 9, right?
Okay.
If I were to just go with the shorter canon, 39 Old Testament books, 27 New Testament books, I would not know that the serpent is the devil until I get to Revelation. It's in Revelation 12, verse 9, where we're told that ancient serpent is the devil. But if you read the Deuterocanonicals, in Wisdom chapter 2, verses 22 to 24, we're told that the serpent who caused Adam and Eve to sin was the devil, and he did it out of envy. So we're told that Satan's sin was envy. Here, let me show it to you. See the advantage, guys, Protestants, you're listening? The advantage of having the larger canon? You'll find information there that you don't find in the shorter canon. Here it is. Wisdom chapter 2, verses 22 to 24. Here it is. Wisdom of Solomon, which is part of the Orthodox canon and the Catholic canon, but it's not part of the Protestant canon. Here it is. Chapter 2 of Wisdom of Solomon, verses 22 to 24. And they did not know the secret purposes of God. This is talking about those who ended up killing the Son of God, which, by the way, there's a prophecy here, which I'll read a little later. Nor hope for the wages of holiness, nor discern the prize for blameless souls. For God created man for incorruption. So God didn't create you to die. God didn't create you to be mortal. He created you to be immortal and incorruptible. It's right here. See, for God created man for incorruption and made him in the image of his own eternity. So he made you to be eternal like him. So then why do you die? But through the devil's envy, death entered the world, and those who belong to his party experience it. So right there, you're told that serpent was the devil who, out of envy and hatred towards humans, tempted them to sin so they would die. So evil came from Satan disobeying God because God chose humans to be the crown of his creation, and that caused them to be envious.
I correct me if I'm wrong. I believe there might be a verse that like references us judging the angels. Does that
Yes.
mean angels have free will and can sin?
Yes. 1
Is it?
Corinthians chapter 6, verses 2 to 3 is what you're referring to, where Paul says, do you not know we will judge the world? We will judge angels? Yes, we will judge angels, because if spirit creatures were not endowed with the ability to choose, then Satan could not have chosen to rebel against God, and demons could not have chosen to rebel against God, because demons and Satan were not created evil. They were created good. They were good spirit creatures. But he endowed them, as he endowed us, with the ability to choose.
This is a problem I see in Calvinism because they think that you can only choose based on the desires that God has given to you. But then how did Satan choose to sin?
Yeah, that's
That
where they
must mean
contradict themselves.
that must mean God gave Satan the
Yes.
desire, which is nonsense.
So, and another thing, Calvinists will
Blasphemy,
tell you,
actually.
yeah, it is. But Calvinists will tell you, well, Adam and Eve were initially created such a way that they could choose to obey God or disobey God. So they had that ability. But once they sin, their nature is corrupted. All of us are born with a corrupt nature where we can only choose to sin. But then you press them a little further. Say, okay, so you're saying Adam and Eve, when they were created, they truly had this ability to obey God or disobey God. Because the argument of Calvinism is that once Adam and Eve sinned, they corrupted their nature, and now they pass on a corrupt human nature to their descendants, so that you and I, because now we have a corrupt nature, we cannot help but sin, and we cannot choose the things pleasing to God.
Yeah.
But that wasn't true of Adam and Eve. But then you press them on it. Say, hold on. Even though Adam and Eve had this ability to choose God or disobey God, because their nature had not been corrupted, could they have chosen not to sin against God? No, because everything is causally determined. So God had already causally determined that Adam and Eve would disobey God, that the serpent would disobey God. But if you ask them, so did God make them sin? No. They freely sinned. But could they have chosen not to sin? No, because God had determined it.
Double speak.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth.